Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It is a good morning. Great grind day, great grind day, great grind day.
Great morning, everyone. How's it going?
Morning. Woo!
Yeah, Shantae, are you gonna walk? Oh, you're on mute.
Oh, wow. Look at me. You're so used to putting yourself on mute. I said, as soon as I pull up to the crib in 2 seconds, I'm getting out so I can get on this walk.
Yes, love it.
That's right.
Hey, good morning, Zakari. I'll be right back.
Good morning, Sean. Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, we'll be right back. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Good morning, all. Good morning, all.
Good morning, George. How are you?
It's a beautiful day.
Awesome. Hi, Bruce. How are you?
Not just good, I'm great. I might end up on the cover of Frosted Flakes.
Hey, Stacia. How's it going?
Well, if I could get off mute, I'm good.
Good, good. Hey there, Vicky. How are you? Franklin, how are you this morning?
Doing great, G. How you doing?
Awesome. Thank you. We're gonna get started in a few minutes. Give some people some time to jump on. Hey, Missy.
Good morning.
Who else we got? Get started in like 2 minutes. Everyone having a great weekend?
Yes.
Awesome.
I have another tea for you since I know you love teas. You got to try some guayusa tea. Guayusa. Guayusa tea.
Guayusa.
It's really, really good. And especially when you go off plan, it's a great thing to have. I'm telling you, you're going to really, really like it.
I have to look that up. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Who else we got on this morning? Hey, Chris, how you doing?
Good morning.
Awesome. Okay, we're gonna go ahead.
Good morning. Good morning.
Hey, Crystal, how you doing?
Wonderful. Doing pretty good.
Awesome. All right, let's go ahead and get this call started. All right, welcome to the G Life Accountability Call. Today is August the 8th. I hope everyone is doing phenomenal. We brought in August a great way. And then as you all know, we started the sleep challenge for the month of August. So I'll briefly go through that. Again, I do want to highlight, is this anyone's first call? I'm scrolling, let me see. Anyone's first call?
Chris Gray, this is my first call.
Awesome. Hey, Chris. Go ahead and just introduce yourself. Let us know one thing you're looking forward to getting from this group.
So I'm Chris Gray.
And
I'm from Kansas City, and just looking. I just started this. Looking at starting up a YouTube channel with my son, and also launching an app. So just learning from everyone. I also work full time with a healthcare company that I've been with for 19 years. So starting to look into building my own brand instead of building my company's brand.
awesome, love it. If everyone can come off of mute and give Chris a warm welcome.
Welcome.
Welcome, Chris.
Hey,
Welcome, Chris. Welcome.
Yes, yes. Big
Love it,
steps,
love
big
it.
steps.
Welcome.
Awesome. Anybody else? First call. Scroll.
Good morning, everyone. This is Vicky Parker. I'm from Detroit, Michigan, and I'm here networking to help get wisdom, knowledge, and understanding from all of you guys. I have two organizations, one for youth ages 5 to 25, and the others is a women's platform.
Love it. Welcome, Vicky. Welcome. We're glad to have you. Everyone come off mute and give Vicky a warm welcome.
Welcome, Vicky.
welcome
Welcome.
to the family.
Welcome.
All right.
Welcome.
Thank you. All right, we're gonna go ahead and jump into the call. So as you guys know, we started a sleep challenge for the month of August, making sure we all get an adequate amount of rest. And we've been doing slight check-ins within the Facebook group. We're gonna quickly go through some check-ins here on the call. So everyone who's participating, I want just to jump in, let us know how it's been going for you week 1. Any adjustments you need to make, and then any lessons you've learned. So anyone can jump in first. I'll actually start. So I've been getting about 7 to 8 hours of sleep for this week. What's hard for me is going to bed earlier because I'm used to going to sleep around 12, anywhere between 12 and 2 a.m. So really going to bed earlier. One adjustment I need to make is if I'm going to go to bed earlier, looking to get up earlier, I probably should not take any melatonin at night. Just because I'll either get up really, really early and I'll be like off the wall, not have gotten 8 hours of sleep, or I'll oversleep in the morning and be very tired. So that's an adjustment for me. And then getting in the bed maybe a little earlier might be helpful. So who's next? I just gave you like 60 seconds.
I'll go. So for me, kind of like you, going to sleep a little earlier has been difficult because I take on my lunch break, I take like a 30-minute nap. So that kind of throws me off to stay up later. But I've been getting like six hours of sleep, which is good for me. But this week I'm gonna try to go to bed earlier and get more sleep. So it's been a challenge just by going to bed early, but I like trying to get more sleep because I definitely need it.
Love it, love it. Who's next?
I'll go next, Stacia. I've been going to bed on time at like 10:30, but then I can't ever go to sleep. So I don't ever get to sleep till like midnight or after. And then I can't seem to sleep more than, well, I wake up in the middle of the night and then I'm just up for 2 or 3 hours. So, and then I get up at 6. So I'm getting maybe 5 or 6, and sometimes I have to sneak in a nap to get that. So I just can't go to sleep and then I can't stay asleep. So I got to figure that out.
Do you use your phone like right before you go to bed? Or do you take melatonin?
I actually take a Benadryl to try and go to sleep. And then,
Oh, wow.
yes, I was using my phone, but Alfred yelled at me because I get up and work in the middle of the night. And he told me I couldn't do that anymore or get on my phone. So I've been trying to not do that. And Doc Nicole gave me some meditation. So I've been trying to just put my headset in and listen to the meditations and see if that'll help me go to sleep. But I'm still struggling.
Okay, yes, they should do not work in the middle of the night. Okay, who's next? Oh, one tip. I put it in the Facebook group maybe last week or the beginning of the week, but a really great app to use is called Insight. So it has like sleep sounds on there. There's like adult bedtime stories, and yes, I will use a bedtime story to help me go to sleep if I need to. And then there's a lot of great resources on there to help just with sleep in general. And then another one is using your iPhone to track your sleep patterns. So there's like an alarm you can set for an actual bedtime, and then track it through the health app. So it helps you see how many hours of sleep you're getting. And if you need to adjust your time, you can as well in app. Who's next?
Hey, it's Shantae. I'll go next. Man, mine scared me straight. Like I noticed a pattern and I went back through my the iPhone health one and it showed me an average. Like so between Tuesday and Thursday, it said like I was averaging like 3 hours. I was like, oh no, we got
wow.
to do better. Yeah, it was really bad.
To do better.
So and you know, and I just realized like, listen, I'll just have to make whatever adjustments that I have to make. Like I'm back on track again, but I'm not going to keep extending the time because I'm an early morning person. So Ease Magnesium really truly helps. I highly recommend it. They give you your money back guarantee. I'm telling you, Shawn Stevenson's done a whole like breakdown on it. Anybody who's ever tried it, like I'm telling you, 5-10 minutes lights out, and it's the best sleep that you'll ever get. So I highly recommend that. And so I'm back on track. That's it for me.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Good stuff, Shantae. Who's next?
Can she just post that in the chat, please?
Oh yeah. Shantae, can you post that in the chat?
Will do. And I also dropped it in the Facebook group.
Awesome. Thank you. Who's next? Who's next? Paula, were you saying something? Yeah, mute.
No, I wasn't, but since you up,
oh, your phone was off mute. Okay, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Oh no, you're fine.
Okay, what are we doing? Challenges?
Yeah,
what are we doing?
If you guys jumped on a little after, we're just discussing our experience this week with the sleep challenge. If you're participating, so any adjustments, lessons you need to make when it comes to that.
I am monitoring how much I am sleeping, so I'm paying more attention to it. I go to bed early, so I usually go to bed between 9 and 10. So, I mean, I don't have a problem going to bed. I have a problem with staying asleep. So I usually wake up around 4 o'clock. I don't need an alarm, so it's just like weird. So I try to make myself, lay or, fake sleep another hour or so, until I get up. But I'm trying to get at least 6 or 7 hours a night. So I'm just going to continue to monitor myself until I figure out how to get it done.
Love it. Love it. All right. Who's next?
I'm always down to participate. So quantity of sleep, I'm pretty happy with that. I'm working on the consistency. My goal for this challenge is to make it happen going to bed at the same time every night.
Love it. You said. Who's up? Anybody else? Who's next? All right. So we're going to go ahead and jump into the call for today. We have our very own Shawn Williams joining us. He's going to be talking about home ownership, a lot of resources, gems that he has. I thought it was very important to have this discussion just because a lot of people are interested in purchasing homes. There are a lot of myths that it is, very hard or impossible to purchase homes, but when you actually get with someone who's an expert and they break down the importance of owning as well as steps to get there and practical resources for you to use, I think it's an amazing thing. So we're going to have Shawn Williams join us. He has an enormous amount of experience. This is his expertise. I'm going to pass the mic over to him because I want him to introduce himself within his presentation. So if you guys can make sure your phones are muted, he's going to speak to us today, and then we'll go into a Q&A. If you have any questions or anything, you can also drop them in the chat so we can get to them as well. So without further ado, I am going to bring Shawn over to the stage. Welcome, Shawn. Thank you.
Hey, good morning. Good morning. Thanks for having me. So, Zakira, I wanted to share my screen. I don't think, I think it's been disabled on my side. Can you enable that for me? Please. And before I get started, first and foremost, I wanted to thank Kendall and the team at Grindation. Zakira, thank you for the invitation. I'm looking forward to this. It's gonna be fun. Also, if everybody can take themselves off of mute and give yourselves like a huge round of applause. Like, let me hear some noise this morning, Sunday morning.
Oh.
That's right. That's right. And the reason I ask you to do that is because honestly, you could have been doing anything else. Like, my family right now, my daughter, my son, they're tweens. So I guess my son's a teen and my daughter's a tween now. They like to sleep in. And so, there's no real in-person church where we live and things like that. So I say all that to say, I just wanted you guys to do that because I think it's awesome that we're all up on a Sunday morning at 9 a.m., talking. And so what I wanted to do is real quick in the chat, put a Y if you currently own a house. As a matter of fact, put a $sign, put some money in there if you own a house. Put a $sign. I'm not going to move on until I see that money. So keep going. All right. So far, one person owns a house. There we go. Not yet. So, all right. I think Zakira, you just signed in so that you can work this with me. And then also, if you are looking to purchase a home or have the idea of doing so, put a 1 in the chat, please. Nice. So Bruce put a whole bunch of 1s. He's ready. You ready, Bruce? And so as best as we possibly can, because obviously we're not face-to-face in person, but this is the closest thing that we have. I'm okay with you taking yourselves off of the mute. I'm okay with you communicating with me in the chat. That's awesome. And so also,
you should be good, Shawn, whenever you're ready.
I'm good now. All right.
Yes.
So I have a PowerPoint, Zakira, and there's a slideshow that I do.
Okay.
So, here it is. Here it is. We're gonna share. I'm gonna share my desktop, I think. All right. Can y'all see this slide that's up there?
Honesty, integrity, transparency.
Nice. Glad to hear it. So, like I said, feel free to write in the comments. And also, too, I'd like to see what you plan to get out of today. Like, you don't have to tell me, but just also, if you want to write that in the comments, some things that you plan to get out of it today as well. So let me see who's on here. Crystal. There are certain reasons that people purchase homes. You want to take yourself off of mute and tell me one? So wealth building. All right, cool. Who else wants to hop in and say something?
I want to grab a duplex.
Yeah, that ain't a reason though. What's the reason why people buy houses? I'm gonna help you. I'm gonna help you with that. Huh?
Stability.
Spell it. No, I'm just playing. But I think Bruce, you chimed in, but like why do you want to get that duplex?
What's passive income? My bad. I misunderstood the question.
No worries. I'm not that smart, man. So it's all good. So passive income. So would you call that wealth? Is that right? Wealth building?
That's a step. Yeah, that's a step on the way. Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Anybody else? Let me get 2 more people and then I'll push forward. I'll keep moving forward. What other reasons that people use to purchase homes?
Investment potential.
You said it. So we already had that. So we got investment, we got the wealth. What else? We got stability.
Keep it up with the Joneses. Sometimes people want to get a house just to, even though it doesn't fit their lifestyle.
Yeah.
Their friends have a house, so they just want to get a house because their friends are.
That's awesome. You know what? I'm gonna start putting that in my presentation. Who was that said that?
Chris Gray.
Chris, I'll give you some credit for it. I promise. That was a good one. Keeping up with the Joneses. I don't think that's a good reason, but that is a reason. Let me get one more, and then and like I said, I'll push forward.
Forced savings. I said investment purposes because it's forced you to save, so it's a saving platform too.
All right, investment purposes.
I say family legacy.
Man, there we go. Here we go. Y'all ready for the unveiling?
Yes.
What do you see up there?
Oh, okay. Somebody said stability, didn't they? And I think someone said family.
You should have seen me. Like, if y'all could have seen me do my little fist pump, I was like, yeah, no one gets stability. So we have family, financial investment, and stability. But like, tell me, and again, this is gonna be interactive. I'm okay with I need your feedback because that gives me energy and it helps me along the way. Because we're all here and we're doing this this virtual thing. Like, what do you notice about these 3 pictures? Tell me what you notice.
All 3 of them go together because you do things for your family. You need financial investment for the stability for your family. So kind of like a 3-legged stool. If you don't have one, it falls down.
I got it. What else? I like that. What else do you notice?
Yo, they got a place to be. Like there's a place. There's like an anchor there. That's why I say stability. Like you notice that they have a place to be. Like there's somewhere specific.
Got it. Come on, give me a couple more. Like it's a real obvious one that y'all are missing. It's so easy that it's difficult.
They all have a black and white element and then a color element.
There we go. So think about the family piece. Like, I don't know if anybody has children in this in here, but like, how amazing is it to go through a home ownership journey and to be able to provide a place where this little girl can sit in the living room and entertain you playing a guitar, you know, or having a dog that you can chase outside with the kids or something like that. Obviously, the financial investment, that's a pot of gold right there. We could put a bag there. We could put anything. That goes without saying. And the thing is, with the financial investment, out of every investment that there is, like, you know, you can put your money into stocks, you can put your money into a bank account, you can put it into, you know, precious metals or whatever it might be. But a home serves a bunch of different purposes. It's the only investment that you can actually live in, right? And then the stability piece, like we talk about, and Bruce, you mentioned the passive income piece. Obviously, that wraps around into the financial investment. Somebody mentioned stability as well. Like, I would perceive that these are the matriarchs, so to speak, of the family, the grandmother in this case, and the grandfather, the mother, the father of the looks like husband and wife here. And the stability piece is to have and create some generational wealth and things that you can pass on to people. Someone mentioned keeping up with the Joneses, and I'll get into this as I get further on. And in my humble opinion, I really feel like home ownership it has to be sustainable, right? It has to be sustainable because that's the way that our economy continues to operate in a great way. But also in that sustainability, you get all of these three things that are on their screen here, like in regards to the stability piece and such. So as you see at the bottom there, purpose. I bet you nobody really knew that we would, I'm not a motivational speaker. I'm a trainer and such. I'm a kid from a small town, but I tend to operate on purpose, the reason for which anything is done, created, or existed. And so, like I mentioned, or like we have on this slide here, the top 3 reasons to own a home are these 3. So before I carry on, I'll leave my information here on the screen. You can ask Kendall and the crew. I don't really like to talk about myself. I'm not a huge self-promoter or anything like that. I probably should be, and I'm working on that. But my information's on here. But if it's okay, y'all put another 1 in the chat if it's all right for me to tell you a quick story. If it's okay for me to tell you a quick story.
Go for it.
Love it. So the greatest accomplishments you see up here is what I wrote, husband, father, Black Men Ventures. Also, my purpose, as you see there, is family, community empowerment, break down stereotypes. So I'm gonna tell you a story about family, community empowerment, and breaking down stereotypes. So for the sake of privacy, there was a client that I had back in 2019. And so I've been doing mortgages since 2005. As you see in my bio, $2.5 billion in funded loans that I've managed in my career. That's with a B. And I'm the founder of Fortis Mortgage. So we founded this company back in 2018. But in 2019, there was I don't really like to say too many things changed my life, but there was a client that really changed the trajectory of my purpose and how I've, took myself back to the reason why I got into this business. So again, for the sake of privacy, I'm not going to mention his name. When I was growing up, what I wanted to do always was make my mom proud. I wanted to make my community proud. Like I mentioned, I grew up in a small town, and break down all negative stereotypes associated with folks that look like myself. And so the person that actually helped me break down those stereotypes is my childhood friend, rest in peace. And he got me into this industry back in 2005. His name is Ryan Spencer. So I'm going to call this client in honor of Ryan Spencer. I'm going to call this client Ryan Spencer. So Ryan, Mr. Spencer came to me back in 2019. He was referred to me by a realtor. We started to talk quite a bit. I got intrigued by his story. Mr. Spencer didn't have a ton of skills with like the computer and stuff like that. And the way we built our company is to be, high tech. But we also, we like to humanize the actual mortgage experience. So we do text messaging and we do phone calls and we'll do face-to-face and such, but we really like you to upload your documents and such into our secure portal. So Mr. Spencer was having trouble doing that. So I would always, most of the time, have to go over and pick something up for him or to go and show him how to use the portal. And I didn't mind doing that because I was really intrigued by his story. So the first time we sat down, he told me about his situation. He said, Shawn, man, I grew up in apartments my whole life. I grew up in some of the roughest neighborhoods in Washington, D.C. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I never thought in a million years there would be an opportunity for me to purchase a house. And so he said, Shawn, man, when I was coming up, I was a victim of gun violence. I was shot once, I was stabbed twice. I was in and out of prison, Shawn, around the same people, places, and things. And he said, I did a stint and I did it, I did a longer, we called it a bid, right? So a prison sentence. And he said, my sweetie, she stayed with me and she was my childhood sweetheart. She stayed with me. And so, Shawn, I got out of prison and we got married, right? He said, we got married, but he said, Shawn, guess where we had to live? He's like, I had to go home to my old neighborhood. and which is arguably one of the worst neighborhoods. And I don't say this to glorify it or whatnot, but it's the truth. One of the worst neighborhoods in Washington, D.C. He's like, Shawn, it's only one way in, one way out. Half of the time the elevator didn't work. And you know, it was just tough on us. And he said, you know, in the morning, Shawn, I had to I said, listen, I'm not going back to prison. I'm not going to go back to this life. I'm not going to let any of this negativity that I had around me define who I am, because I realized that I want to have a better life. So he said in the morning, he did donuts at Dunkin' Donuts. He went and worked there. He said in the evening, Shawn, I come home, I shower up real quick. I sneak in the building to make sure I didn't see anybody from my old past. And he said I would go and I would deliver pizzas in the evening. Then he said that, he did that for a while. And then he caught what he called was a big break. He said, man, I had an opportunity to climb, Shawn. I was like, okay, cool. So what do you mean climb? He's like, I got a job working at the local telecommunications company, and I'm climbing poles. And he's like, I'm fixing things. And he's like, I'm getting people their phone service and such. And he's like, man, I'm literally climbing and physically climbing. And then he said, Shawn, these people also don't understand me, man. And he's like, I go to work in the morning. Every day I get to the doorstep, I drop down on my knees and I pray. He said, in the doorway, I pray. And people walk by me and they're like, hey, Ryan, why are you, what's going on, man? Like, why are you so grateful? Like, it's just a job, man. You just climbing poles, like, big deal. He said he would look at him and shake his head and said, y'all just don't know. You don't know my story. You don't know what I had to get through to get to this point. And so I say all that to say, that particular profile, it's no big deal. We help anybody, and specifically a person like this that wants to help themselves, because anytime you go through some adversity, you got to get through something to get to it. He said, Shawn, some things that I learned was that if I save my money in my 401k, the company would match it. And he said, also, I learned that the money that I saved in my 401k, I could borrow up to 50% of this money to use for my down payment on the house. Is that so? I said, absolutely. Absolutely. He's like, all right, I'm ready to go. So typically a client profile like this, they need a lot of help. Down payment assistance, just some kind of finagling, whatever it might be. So my man, he had his credit together. He had his money saved. He knew exactly what he wanted to do. So we move along through the process. And remember earlier, I told you I had to always really like kind of be face-to-face interactive with him. And his wife was involved too as well. So fast forward, the night before closing, I had to end up, going over there again. He's like, Shawn, man, thank you. You just don't understand what this means to me and my family. He said, again, remember I told you I've been in apartments my whole life. I never thought in a million years that I would own a house. He said, Shawn, how cool is it that I'm going to be able to get this house for my family? And my grandkids are going to be able to come over. It's almost Thanksgiving, Shawn. We're going to have Thanksgiving dinner, and then the month after that is Christmas. They're going to be able to sleep over and we're going to be drinking. The adults, we're going to sip eggnogs. The kids are going to wake up, my grandkids, and they're going to be able to open their presents in the morning, Shawn. He was like, this is going to be amazing. He's like, in the summertime, I'm getting a trampoline for my family, and my kids. And he was like, and then I'm going to be calling you back in a few years because I'm going to get another one and I'm going to keep this house and we're going to make it a rental property. And then I'm going to pass this along to my family. So everybody on this call, you see how that 3 reasons and the purpose, how that rolls into this gentleman's situation, right? Family. He said specifically he wanted to buy this house so he can entertain his family and show them a different life, right? He said financial investment. He said that. He said, I'm going to live in this house using the funds that I've saved through my 401k, and I'm going to use this as a financial vehicle because I'm going to turn it into a rental property later on because I'm going to be stable because I'm going to buy another house and pass it on to my family, right? So last part of the story, I apologize for carrying it on, but I just want to hammer it home because it's my favorite story. This is the first time I've been able to really tell it without crying because it means so much to me and it changed me so much in 2019. So the morning of closing, I get a call. First, I get a text message from his wife, Shawn, call me. That same day, I call her back. She's like, last night, Ryan's appendix ruptured. We had to go to the hospital and he had to have emergency surgery. I said, do what? Okay. And she's like, Shawn, he's checking himself out of the hospital because he just don't listen. And he got the surgery. He's going to check himself out of the hospital because he wants to close on this house. True story. So I go over to the house because we had one more piece of documentation that we had to pick up. You know, again, I told you I was helping him out and getting through this process. I walk into the house, the apartment's empty that they were living in because they had packed up to get ready to move and such. I see an air mattress on the floor and I see somebody covered up on the air mattress. So I looked down and it was Mr. Spencer lying on the floor. Mr. Spencer was heavily sedated. He had staples from his stomach, the bottom of his stomach to his waist, all the way up to the top of his chest, from his surgery. And I said, man, like, bro, you didn't have to do this. We could have moved the settlement. We could have got you a power of attorney. We could have made some arrangements to make this happen. He was like, nah, Shawn, you remember that struggle, that plight that I told you that I went through my whole life? There was nothing in this world that was going to stop me from getting to this point right now. Nothing can stop me. So I say all that to say, Ryan Spencer, and it ended up closing on his house that day. And then he went back into the hospital that night. True story. And this particular story really taught me about why I do what I do for our business, right? And it really taught me about like purpose and brought that back full circle, because there's a lot of different reasons why people do things, even outside of this canned thing that I have on here with the family financial investment and stability. That whole purpose piece was something that he was trying to break some curses in his life, right? And so I don't want to come on here this morning and give anybody this huge motivational speech or anything like that, but I always like to really tell this story because it wraps into the reason why I said that people own houses. It wraps into the reason why I do what I do. All right. So what we're going to do this morning is we're going to get into a couple things. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this next slide here, but I just want to show you 7 steps to home ownership. It's really simple. I'm not, again, going to go into great detail about it because I want to have a Q&A and answer a few questions. And I think some of the things that I'm going to talk about will help guide you along the way. So there's pre-approval process, right? There's an analysis you go through that someone kind of really peeks under the hood. Let me tell you how at least a pre-approval should go. So there's 3 things. I get someone on the phone. Shantae Wells, I get you on the phone and we're going to talk. And one of the things that I'm typically going to ask you, because I really firmly believe that affordability is more important than qualification. Shantae, affordability is more important than qualification, right? So a lot of times people come to me, how much do I qualify for? Well, I can certainly show you that on paper, right? But like gentleman mentioned earlier, perfect, keeping up with the Joneses, right? So if I qualify you for $1 million and you ain't about that, $7,000 a month mortgage life, payment life, then why would we talk about qualifying you to buy a house for $1 million just to keep up with the Joneses, or not be able to put money aside for your savings? Or if your car breaks down, you got to choose between fixing your car or paying your mortgage payment. So one of the things I always ask about, so Shantae, have you thought about an ideal mortgage payment for you? Your payment. Have you thought about a payment that works for you? Then Shantae, I would tell you secondly, all right, because you're going to get out and you're going to be shopping for the house, right? And there's going to be some sort of amenity that you want in the house. There's going to be some sort of amenity that maybe your significant other or your children or whatever might going to want in this house. And every time you check a box, it gets more expensive, right? So have you thought about your max payment where you're like, Shawn, and you're a realtor, I don't care what y'all show me, I'm not going a penny more than this number, right? So what that does is it gives me my ideal payment, my starting point, and it gives me my max payment, my ending point. Those 2 payments are equivalent to a loan amount, right? A loan amount. So, and what that does is it allows us to get you into a price range. So while you're out there shopping, you can make the most informed decision. So your payment might fit your ideal payment might fit a $300,000 purchase price, right? But your max payment, because maybe you're getting a raise in the future, or you have some extra money set aside, or your significant other have been laid off, but they're going back to work, but you're willing to sacrifice and pay a little bit more. So your max payment might be $350. So then what I can do is I can tell you and your realtor or whoever it is that's representing you, hey, listen, for Shantae, y'all should be looking between $300 and $350. She can go a little higher than $350, but based on what she said her comfort was versus her absolute max, this is the price range that you guys should be shopping in. Does that make sense? Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. If y'all are still tracking with me, let me get some exclamation points in the chat here. If you're still tracking, if you're still following me. All right, perfect. So you see also search for homes. And so by us doing that pre-approval process, you'll get to the next step. So we're going from left to right, from top left to the right. You'll search from homes. Then that also puts you in a position to make an offer. Then once you get into there, you're going to have an appraisal. I highly suggest and recommend you get a home inspection. That's like taking your uncle or your favorite mechanic to the car dealership to lift the hood and check out the engine before you buy the car. That's kind of what a home inspection does. I have stories for days, but we don't have a ton of time, but I could tell you a story about how my wife and I got a home inspection. But the other part, Shantae, so we're going to go to Paula Washington. So Paula, you come to me. So I've already helped you figure out your payment, get to the point where you're going to be making an offer, get an offer accepted. At that point, now we got to get your file into underwriting, right? So like if we were in the court of law, I would sort of be like your attorney, right? I gather all the information, I get it everything in writing, present it to the judge, who's an underwriter, who basically looks at everything that we type in the system, into this computer system. They have to validate everything, and they're the only people in our industry that can approve or deny a loan. So one of the things that's super important is money too as well. So one of the questions, Paula, that I would ask you is, how much money are you willing and able to part ways with? How much money are you willing and able to part ways with? You must find a professional that you feel that they're not going to judge you, right? When I talk to my clients, so Paula, one of the things I always do to disarm you, Paula, it doesn't matter what you say. Like if you say, Shawn, I don't have any money, or Shawn, I have X amount of dollars, like my guy did. Remember, he had his 401k. He had everything already all figured out. And I just confirmed it for him and we built the strategy for him. But I need to know that. And it's okay if you don't have the money, because I just have to figure out how I can help you and what direction to point you in. So it's very, very important to understand, number one, how much money you have and willing to part. Well, actually, number two, how much money you're willing and able to part ways with. The other thing, I think I saw Missy on here. Missy, you on here? Can you take yourself off mute and say good morning? Did I see Missy on here? All right. Well, I know she was on here, but anyway, credit. Credit is super important. That's the other thing, Crystal, that I will be talking to you about too as well during this initial pre-approval conversation is, what's your credit like? Again, find someone who you don't feel like is going to judge you. You have to tell us what you think is going to be like. I'm going to pull your credit anyway. That's a part of the process, but just be open about it. Be open about what your credit situation looks like. That's super important. So I'll go to the next slide. I'm not going to sit here today and break down the whole credit score. We have a credit expert in our community with Missy Perrin. Hopefully, Missy, I'm pronouncing your name the right way. Zakira, I think it's Missy Perrin, but I just call her Missy. But she's a credit lady. Think about your credit. It's sliced up like a pie.
Yep, Missy Perrin.
Got it. Sliced up like a pie. So Zakira, you can't tell me, Shawn, you can't pull my credit, because every time you pull my credit, it's going to take my score down. Y'all can't tell me that. Don't tell me that anymore. I don't want to hear that anymore, right? Because that's not the truth. Like, so if you look to the right-hand side, that there's a bucket. So 10% of this pie, a small percentage of it is getting your credit pulled, right? So lenders know, and folks that are extending credit know that chances are if you're spending $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 that you're going to have to get your credit pulled, right? And so within that algorithm, they know if it's a credit card company, they know if it's a car dealership, they know if it's a bank for a mortgage. And what they do is, so for instance, if you get your credit pulled from a mortgage company today, tomorrow, the next day, your credit's been pulled 3 times. The way that it's supposed to work is that's supposed to only be 1 credit hit for mortgages. Next weekend, which I don't suggest you do, we're gonna get into that in a second. Next weekend, you go and you go to a car dealership, and at the car dealership, you already know they're gonna pull your credit a ton of times. So you go get your credit pulled 5 more times. You go get your credit pulled 5 more times. That's 1 other hit for auto dealership. So in the span of a week, you've gotten your credit pulled 8 times, right? But it only counts as 2 credit inquiries, 1 from the mortgage side and 1 from the automobile dealership side. And this has got to all be done within a window of time. We typically say within 15 to 30 days. Like if you're going to shop, get your shopping done within that time period. What has happened, and especially in the community with people that look like myself, we've been misled. We've been kind of told to believe that it's going to mess our credit up even more than what it already might be, so that we don't shop for services, right? And so some unscrupulous people will scare people into doing, having this kind of a scare tactic so that they don't look into shopping for a mortgage. But it's okay to do so. It's really okay to do so. Before I move on to the next slide, I'm gonna open up real quick for some Q&A.
Which maybe Missy could chime in on this one. Which one of those is utilization?
Utilization. So if you want to chime in, Missy, you can. I could cover it at a high level, but the number says 30%. Like you want to keep like your balances.
The amount owed, that's the category.
Yeah.
No,
So,
Sean, I don't
yes,
mean
ma'am.
to cut you out. But the credit situation has changed. Now they want you under 10%. I know people have been taught 30%, but when you're in 30%, you in that like yellow range where they telling you to yield. Under 10% is in the green.
Wait,
Under 10%.
That's good information, but that's not my question. Which one of these categories does it fall underneath?
Revolving credit. It's revolving credit. Your mortgage won't have anything to do with credit utilization.
Okay.
Yeah. So are you at what are you really asking though? Like what's the scenario or what's the question around the utilization piece?
So like if I open a card, that's under new credit. That's 10% of my score.
Yep.
I have an account for 10 years. That's length of history. That's 50%. If my credit utilization is good, which one of these does it fall under?
The amounts owed.
Okay, cool. That's it. That's
the amount. So Missy, thanks for that. I've been running around. I honestly, Missy, I tell people 50% because it's an easy number. And I do see it move the needle. I know for a fact up until today, I didn't know it was 10%, but like, so who's that? That was Bruce. So Bruce, if you have a credit card that has $1,000 limit, up until today, you would have had to keep the balance at $300 or less. Based on the information we just got from Missy, and thank you for that, Missy, you want to keep that balance at $100. So what I also want everybody to know too as well is if you have a $10,000 balance with a $1,000 balance, it's the same as having 1,000 with 100. It's the percentage. It doesn't matter about the amount. It's the percentage, right? So Bruce, hopefully that answers your question. What else? Who else has any questions before I move on to the next couple of things? Thank you again, Missy. And thank you, Bruce.
Hey, I had a quick question. Is there like a certain like score range or utilization range specifically? Like if you someone that had bad credit that you should be aiming to get to before applying for a mortgage?
Good question. So most lenders, a 580 credit score gets you in the game. It gets you in the game. But guaranteed, if you have a 580 credit score, you got to have some money saved because they're going to make you use your own money. Like no access really to down payment assistance programs. I will also tell you, I love our industry, and I think we're doing such a great job now. And especially, I feel like I text Kendall yesterday. Have you guys seen Go Legendary? It's a new plant-based burger. They were on Shark Tank, and my man, he's on Instagram bullying people, and pretty much like he's got the best burger in the world. So when you get a chance, you go on Instagram, look up Go Legendary. So I personally feel like that our mortgage experience is the very best mortgage experience in the world for the company that I own with Fortis Mortgage. But to answer your question, 580 credit score gets you in the game. You got to have money. But the reason that I talked about this experience is you got to work with companies that know what they're doing, because it can be sort of a bumpy ride, because they're going to also dig deep into the reasons why your credit might be the way it is. You know, what happened, what you did to fix the credit, and then what steps are you taking to prevent it from happening again? Because at the end of the day, the banks want to know that you have the ability to repay the mortgage. Period. End of story. You have the ability to repay the mortgage. 580 gets you in the game. Then we'll start to go between 580 to 620. That's and then 640 is a really good number for people to at least to get to, because at 640 you have a little bit more options and flexibility, and in regards to maybe getting some help with your down payment from some of the housing finance agencies and such. Ideally though, if you can get your credit score to a 680, then you have more options and flexibility, because at a 680, you're able to get into more conventional financing, right? That give you better payments. The rates are higher than like maybe an FHA, but you have this PMI that you have on the loan. And with the PMI it's a private mortgage insurance. It's really a policy that it helps you sort of, but it really protects the banks. So if and when you foreclose on the property, it's an insurance policy that the bank makes you pay for to protect them on that. So an FHA mortgage, Federal Housing Administration, is a government loan, and they have PMI, but it stays with the house for the entire time, the whole 30 years, unless you put a 10% down payment down. However, if you can get into conventional financing, you can put less money down than an FHA. An FHA is 3.5% down. Conventional, you could put down 3% down, and you have this mortgage insurance that can drop off once you get 22% equity in your property, so it doesn't stay the whole time. So the goal is to set up a strategy. Remember I said earlier about sustainability, about keeping your house. Okay, it's okay to keep up with the Joneses and say you own a house, because you do, but it's about keeping the house and having a long-term strategy. So to answer your question, 580 gets you in the game. Ideally a 680 is where it's at. I see perfect credit in our industry teeter between a 740 to 760. Your credit scores, however, can go up to an 850. So I'll have clients that I talk to and their credit scores are 800, and they're really excited about that and happy. And I am for them too as well. But to be honest with you, I stopped counting after a 740 credit score, because everybody gets the same rates after that point. Lenders don't give you better rates because you have an 800 versus having a 760 credit score. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. And it pisses me off to know that I could have tried when I was actually around at 650. I was told that was like bad credit. So, even when I was around 625. So thanks for giving me at least some perspective of what options are.
Yeah, you got to try it. You have to try it. When I purchased my first home, and this is why I treat these things the way that I treat it. When I purchased my first home, I ran away from getting my credit pulled for 3 years. My college roommate, we were roommates after college for a few years, and he was selling cars and he was in the auto industry. He knew my credit was messed up, because I ain't gonna lie to y'all, I took every t-shirt that they gave me in the student union building. Because I took every credit card that came with the t-shirt too. But I didn't pay them back, because I thought I was gonna make $1 million when I got my bachelor's degree. When I walked across the stage, the very next day I walked across, and I was like, I'm gonna pay these people back. I ain't worried about it. They'll just get my money when they get it. And then my first job, I think I made $31,200. I still got my W-2 from that. And I wasn't able to pay the people back. So my credit was messed up. So I dodged my credit for a long time. And then I finally, I got my credit pulled and I went to this loan officer and I was buying a house and he pulled my credit and he looked at me. This was when we were doing a lot of stuff, obviously face to face. And he said, dude. And I was like, what do you mean, dude? What does that mean? And he was like, man, you got some work to do. I was like, okay, all right. At that time, I was in sales and I was making some money. And I'm like, all right, just tell me what I need to do. So he took my credit report. He broke the whole thing down. He told me exactly what I needed to do. This was like a Thursday. I did everything he asked me to do on Monday morning. I called him up. I said, what's your fax number? He gave me the fax number. I sent him receipts and payoff letters and satisfaction letters for everything that I had. And I sent it to him. And he was like, man, I really didn't think you were going to go through all this. I was like, I know. I was like, can you help me get this house? So the first house that I bought, my credit wasn't the best. I had a 10% interest rate. It was an investment property that I bought though. So Bruce, getting back into that duplex and stuff like that, I bought a double wide trailer in the small town that I lived in with the 20% down payment. But on that 20% down payment, I bought the house from a family member and they helped me with a gift of equity. Well, it wasn't a gift of equity. They did they financed the second for me. So anyway, I did that. I had to take at that point, I took a 23% interest rate on the car to improve my credit. I was getting these cards, I forget what they're called, where you just, you go to your bank and they base it off of, help me out, Missy, what's the card called? Secure credit card. I was getting those.
Yeah, secure credit card.
And then after a certain period of time, my credit started to creep up. I got to a 660. Then I got, I paid the car off because I had enough money to pay the car off, but I was playing the game. So Bruce, we talked about this. You look at this chart here. I had to play the game in order to get my scores up, right? So I needed to show them I had a length of history on time payments on my cars and stuff. And so I did that, and then my score started to creep up. And then I got to that 700 number, and like there was no turning back after that. And like so now my credit is nearly perfect. But if I would have not tried back then, I wouldn't have the real estate that I have right now. I probably wouldn't even have been in this mortgage industry. Just a lot of things wouldn't be the same in my life. I know it for a fact if I wouldn't have tried to do so. So like, don't let if you got over a 580 credit score, I ain't gonna lie to you and tell you it's gonna be easy to buy a house at 580 because it's not going to be. I've done it, and you're gonna jump through some hoops to get to it. Like this guy, Mr. Spencer, that I talked about, shot once, stabbed twice. His credit score was a 620, I think it was. But he had his money saved and he had his stuff together. He had, a good job, working for the local telecommunications company and stuff like that. So it wasn't a big thing. What else you got? Because I got 2 more slides, and then I'll let you get back to the rest of your day. Zakira, I was thinking about you too as well. Like I know you give Zakira a shout out, guys. She getting married. And at some point, I know you're gonna be thinking about this. If you don't own a house now, you're gonna be eventually getting one in the future. But like these are all important steps that you need to take. What else? One more question. I'm gonna move on to the do's and don'ts.
Yeah, I got a question. This is Abraham Scully. Thank you, Shawn, for the information so far.
No worries.
I am newly self-employed since February of this year. And my wife and I, we went to a loan officer a couple months ago inquiring about the process of getting a house at some point. No date in mind specifically, just thinking about the process so we can plan accordingly.
Yes.
And one of the challenges that came up was the fact that I am self-employed for such a short time.
Yes.
And I'm wondering, or the question is, what are some of the barriers that exist, and how can we plan intentionally so that when we're ready to purchase a home, we can do that being self-employed?
Great question, Abraham, and congratulations too as well. Don't look back, brother.
Thanks, sir.
Yeah, somebody asked me the other day if I had any regrets about starting my mortgage company. I was like, absolutely not. The best thing that ever happened to me, aside from my getting married and having a family. So 2 years, Abraham. We want to see 2 years worth of tax returns for anyone that's self-employed, right? If you're going, listen and stay with me. If you're going to buy a house, to live, family, right? If you're going to buy a house to live, 2 years worth of tax returns. If you get into this financial investment piece, they don't look at your income as much. You can go to a lender and they look at the deal. But if you and your wife are looking for a house to live in, Abraham, we want to see a 2-year work history. Does that answer the first part of your question?
Yeah, that does.
Okay. The other thing, and we can talk about it offline. I need y'all to call me and stuff if you have questions. I don't mind answering. It keeps me sharp too as well. I own this company, but I'm still in the mix. So you could also, I'm gonna send everybody a video about debt to income ratio because we just don't have enough time to go through that today. But it's essentially, how much you make versus how much you have the ability to spend based on your income. And so if Abraham, your wife, checks all the boxes, we can finance the house in her name. You can be on the title and you still have the same access to ownership on the property as her. However, if she needs your income to be able to qualify for the price range that you want to buy in, you have to wait 2 years to purchase. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that does. If you can you also hit on some of the things that we can do to be proactive, being that at some point, no date in mind, but we want to make sure that once we get to that point where we're ready to buy, some of those things that we can start doing now. But that's good so far. Thank you.
Yeah, I always recommend for business owners, and most of us on this call are, like I'm telling you, I already know y'all write off every paperclip. Every time you spend something, you're going to write it all off. And then you think you get your 1099s and your gross receipts at the end of the year. You're like, man, I made $200,000 or I made $100,000. But then after all the paper clips and all the whatever it is that you've written off on paper, when you net it out, you might only make 20,000. You might only make 50,000. That's the number we use. We don't use the gross amount. So Abraham and any other business owner on here, I would recommend that you do some tax planning. So whoever your tax advisor is, and your loan officer, your lender, you need to clearly find out by pulling your credit, doing an application to understand like how much money do I really need to make to afford the house that I want to live in, right? Remember that payment thing I talked about earlier? How do I get to that payment? How much money do I need to have to afford that payment? But on top of it, you on your credit, you're going to have student loans. You're going to have credit card minimum payments, things like that. I recommend more than anything is you do some tax planning to understand like, all right, I'm going to be buying a house, Abraham, in the next 2 years. I might have to sacrifice and pay these taxes over the next 2 years to get what I want out of the house. And then you can go back to writing off whatever you want to write off later. So that's super important. I would also try to figure out, if I were you, if my spouse makes enough income and has a credit profile, because she can use your money to purchase. That's what I would do. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that does. I appreciate it, Shawn.
No worries. Does that answer anybody else's question that might have, like want to go even further on that? Zakira, do I have a little bit more time?
Shawn, let's keep it at like 5 minutes.
Right.
I don't want to go too much over.
Got you. So I'll send this slideshow to everybody. Do's and don'ts. We can read it off. So one of the things that I would say, Abraham and crew, anybody that's on here that's looking to purchase a home, get your documentation together. That's super important. That's half the battle, is being organized. W-2s, pay stubs, bank statements, and an ID to start. Put it in a folder, in a PDF. If you're self-employed, 2 years worth of tax returns. All right. Make your mortgage payments on time and your rent payments. So someone had asked me about the credit score piece. When your credit score is above like a 640, they don't really verify rent too much. But when you start to have some of the lower credit scores, the lender will sometimes verify your rent history. All right. You can keep using your credit too as normal. So Bruce, we talked earlier about credit and such. You can still use your cards. I mean, don't starve yourself. Don't stop getting toilet paper and stuff like that at Target. Because you're afraid that it's gonna mess your credit up. We're looking for large purchases. Don't don't blow your credit card out of the water, because what happens is if you got a $25 a month minimum payment and now all of a sudden you have $1,000 a month minimum payment, that's an extra $750 that we didn't account for. All right. What's very important, and I'm telling you this now, Abraham, this might go to you too as well. Like, especially when you're self-employed, your income fluctuates. You might get a contract that pays you, $5,000-$10,000, right? And you're gonna make that deposit potentially into your bank account, or there might be someone that's got a side hustle where you're selling sneakers or something like that, and you get a big order on eBay or whatever the companies are that sell the shoes, and you make that deposit. It's not that, so you want to have a paper trail. It's not the fact that anybody's questioning you whether you're doing something right or wrong, but they want to make sure you didn't borrow the money, right? You didn't borrow the money. You cannot borrow money to borrow money. Does that make sense? Last thing, the don'ts. The don'ts are most important to me. Bank transfers. Just, you're going to drive us crazy. Stop doing it. I could tell this group this. I really want to go on social media and do a rant about this, but it's really not that cool to have 1,000 different bank accounts. Just pick a couple. Get 2 to 3 bank accounts. There ain't that much money in the world to cover all these different bank accounts, just for an average person, right? So what happens is you have a PNC account, you got a Bank of America account, you got a Chase account, but then you got this vacation club that you're doing, and then you transfer money from one bank to the other, back to the other bank, to the other bank. That's where the pain comes in, and y'all be crying about the fact that we're asking you to cover this paper trail. We need to know. So if you give us the Chase bank statement, and then we see an account money coming in from PNC or going out to Bank of America, we want to see those accounts, right? Because we want to see that you're not borrowing money, or you don't have a child support payment or something like that you didn't disclose on there that will affect your ability to repay the mortgage. Banks, like 60 days. You want to make sure that all of your money that you have is seasoned for 60 days. 60 days. So 2 months worth of bank statements. No, don't go buy a car. I got a story about a car, but I'll tell you about that one later, with someone who bought a car before closing and derailed their whole closing. Try not to take on any new credit, right? Don't do that. And then keep your job to the best of your ability. If you want to change jobs, is okay. But Abraham, in your case, if you would have gone from a salary job to self-employed in the middle of your mortgage process, you would have crushed your ability to purchase a home, because we need a 2-year history of being self-employed. But like if you go from Amazon to another type of company that you have a salary job, that's okay, as long as you clear that with your loan officer. So that's it for me. Remember, honesty, integrity, transparency. Remember, today my theme is purpose. Like, you got to really think about why you doing what you do. Right? Family, financial, investment, stability. I put my email in the chat. If anybody wants to reach out to me directly, feel free to do so. No strings attached. I'm willing to help anybody. Zakira, if you want me to do another Q&A, another day, another time, I can set up a Zoom and just get people in there, and y'all can just pluck me with questions and such. But that's it for today. I really appreciate everybody. I appreciate the questions, and hopefully this was helpful.
I love it. I love it. Extremely, extremely helpful. Thank you for being detailed and thorough. I saw a lot of questions being asked, so I'm sure everyone got some gems from this. I'll reach out to you offline, Shawn, so we can maybe set up another Q&A for people who need it. If there's nothing else, thank you so much, Shawn, again, for joining us this morning. And you guys have a great grind day. We'll talk soon.
Hey, Z, thank you, Shawn. I just emailed you. Let's talk soon.
Definitely.